This is the Fantasy Football 411 podcast. The best place to get the latest 411 on your fantasy football team. Here are your hosts, Alex and Amanda.
And welcome back to the Fantasy Football 411 podcast.
This is the best place to get the latest 411 for your fantasy football team. We are your hosts. I'm Alex.
And I'm Amanda.
And in this episode, we're going to give you the Week 9 recap, some of the crazy matchups that happened this past week. I mean, it was literally like an episode of Stranger Things.
The Upside Down.
The Upside Down. It was
Yes.
Week 9 was the Upside Down week of the NFL. But there's some crazy matchups we'll talk a little bit briefly about, like the Bills and the Jaguars. Didn't expect that to happen. But then we're going to get into Week 10 waivers, the best pickups you should go for Week 10. And we're going to close this episode out with the Week 10 matchups and what you should be looking at there. That being said, let's get into it. Here's your latest 411. First and foremost, I had a little bit of a crazy week. Didn't expect to win as much as I did. I mean, I'm up 15 points ahead of tonight's game. We're recording this before the Bears and Steelers game. But I didn't expect to be ahead this much, but it's mainly because my opponent this week started Tua, who started as a backup for Miami, so that helped me out immensely. So that being said, I got lucky this week, but I needed this luck because now that I have players coming off of injuries, I need to start winning some more. How did you do this week?
Not great. Not great. No.
It was a crazy week, though.
Yeah, it sucked.
Yeah, it was a horrible week. And, I mean, some of the things that came across the news will explain how weird of a week it was. Not that it's unexpected, but Odell Beckham Jr. threw another hissy fit, and now he's on waivers as we speak Monday night. He's on waivers. He should be cleared tomorrow to be picked up by a team through the waiver process. If he's not, then I think he has a choice of where he goes, but he might not be able to go anywhere.
Right.
You know, so based on what we're hearing, he could, I mean, Detroit's out. They already said they're out. His team came out and said that they're non-contenders. If they're non-contenders, then there's going to be issues, so don't reach out to them. So that's probably why Detroit's out of the lineup there. But Seattle was one.
Yep. Seattle, I heard, is the one that he wants to go to. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that would be good for Russell Wilson, who I just picked up on waivers. But, I mean, I don't know. I feel, as much as I hate to say it this whole time, like being a Jets fan, I have to be unbiased in these situations for fantasy. But the Patriots would be a perfect landing spot for him. I feel like Belichick could really shape him around. I mean, look what he did with Randy Moss when Randy Moss was kind of a diva himself. You know, I think, and he could be utilized there. Not that I want to see Mac Jones thrive or whatever, but, you know, it could really help out that team. And I think they're the team that can most benefit from him being there. And I think he would benefit from it by having that system in place. But that would be my guess on where he's going. What's your guess?
I mean, if he wants the ball, I feel like the Saints would be a good spot. They don't have Michael Thomas. I know the QB situation there isn't that great, but I mean,
right. That would be the catch. I mean, if Taysom Hill could get the ball out, then the Saints would be great. And it's his hometown, so he gets to go back home, and that's always fun. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. You know, there's 32 teams, so it's hard to think of all of them at the same time, you know, which one's best. But I mean, Kansas City was rumored, but he'd be the third wide receiver there. Tampa Bay already turned down the fact of bringing him in. I mean, they got Antonio Brown in the position. Well, Antonio Brown's out injured, but that's kind of where OBJ would have fit in, and I just don't think they could take on any more cap space. I mean, look at their roster.
Yeah, it's really going to be if there's a team out there that wants to pay for him. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out shortly, though.
Yeah, so within the next 24 hours, we should have some more word on that. So stay tuned on that. You can follow us on Twitter at FanFootball411 or on the socials, the same handle. So, yeah, the other piece of news.
Henry Ruggs.
Not that we got to talk about it too much because I'm sure you've heard a million times. He was driving his Corvette 156 miles an hour. He ended up hitting another car, killing the person in the other car. Him and his girlfriend in his car ended up surviving, but he was under the influence, blew twice the legal limit. So he's going to jail. What was the sentence? It was like 42 years or something.
Yeah, it was like 2 20-year sentences plus a 6 year. So it was 46 years possibly.
Very sad story. But on the fantasy front of that situation, somebody's going to be filling his role. And we'll talk more about that when we get to waivers. Let's get into some fun stats.
Justin Herbert, 32 for 38 for 356 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Oh, did you start him?
No.
It was actually partially my fault that she didn't start him because it was Joe Burrow or her, and I was kind of leaning on Joe Burrow this week.
Well, I was too. Well, they were ranked very close, and Burrow's been throwing 3 touchdowns for the last 3 games, and it just seems like with the defense that he had a better matchup. But clearly I was wrong since Burrow got me like 4 points and Herbert had like 35 points on my bench. But he's on bye next week, so I don't have to make the decision. Herbert will be in.
Oh, true, yeah. Well, Burrow was technically on bye this week too, right?
Apparently. I was unaware.
Okay. Running back Cordero Patterson, he averaged 21 yards per reception on 6 receptions for 126 yards against New Orleans. That helped me out.
Running back Nick Chubb, 14 carries for 137 yards, 2 touchdowns.
And he averaged 9.8 yards per carry. Pretty impressive. Running back Jonathan Taylor went 19 for 172 and 2 touchdowns, averaged 9.1 yards per carry.
Wide receiver Devontae Smith, 5 for 116 yards and 1 touchdown.
Killed me. I put him on my bench. He wasn't performing. Of course, the 1 week I put him on my bench, he ends up outperforming the receivers I put in. Getting into the injuries, as I stated, I got lucky this week. My opponent played Tua against me, who didn't play. He was serving as the backup for Miami this week due to an injured finger on his throwing hand. So if you are a Tua owner, you might want to monitor that. It's not that he can't throw the ball. He can throw the ball. It was just he can't throw the ball too far. He's really limited, and that's why he didn't start.
Running back Chase Edmonds suffered a high ankle sprain, will most likely miss a few weeks.
Quarterback Sam Darnold is getting an MRI today on his shoulder. I'm not sure how that panned out, but he's day-to-day the last I heard. He may not start either way, though, against Arizona because I think they're still debating whether they're just going to throw in P.J. Walker because Sam Darnold just hasn't been performing.
Cornerback Patrick Surtain left the blowout game with a knee injury. Definitely could take a hit if he misses some time.
Yeah, so the blowout game was against the Cowboys. If you watch that game, it was unexpected. Who thought Denver was going to blow out the Cowboys? But their defense will totally be different without Surtain in there, so that's worth noting. Both Patriots running backs, this is interesting, Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson left the game with head injuries. But I haven't heard anything major about them, so it's probably just a minor. I don't know. Head injuries is a little extreme. I don't know if it was that extreme. Might just be like slight concussions, but it's worth monitoring because that will, go to the waiver wire if they both can't play.
QB Trevor Lawrence could miss some time with his ankle injury.
And I heard he might start this week 10, but that's worth monitoring. And not even that you're a Trevor Lawrence owner, but the players on Jacksonville definitely take a hit there. Tight end Jonnu Smith left with a shoulder injury. If I was still a Hunter Henry owner, that would have benefited me. If you are, that'll benefit you if he doesn't play. Hopefully he comes back soon, though, if you are a Jonnu Smith owner.
And running back Devontae Booker left the game with a hip injury.
And I haven't heard anything more on that. I think that's just day-to-day as well, so that's worth monitoring. Let's get into the waivers.
Running back Brandon Bolden, if Harris and Stevenson's head injuries seem like they could miss some time.
Yeah, I mean, if it was definite that they were going to be out, he'd probably be on the hotter side, but who knows as of right now. Wide receiver Olamide Zaccheaus has 2 touchdowns on a Ridley-less team. Could be a trend. It was only on 3 targets, but he could be worth a pickup. Worth noting. I honestly wanted you to read that because I wanted to hear you read his name.
Alamanada. Wide receiver Deshaun Jackson is now with the Raiders. He said, peace out, Rams.
And this is Deshaun Jackson, not Dijon Mustard Jackson. Different, right?
Nope. Same person.
Now, like I said in the injury or in the news segment, different fantasy, the Henry Ruggs situation has fantasy impact. In my perspective, this would be it. You know, a lot of people were saying Zay Jones is going to fill in, or the Raiders even said that. But then they picked up Deshaun Jackson, who still has some talent. I mean, I shouldn't even say still has. He's not like a retiree or anything, but he's getting up there compared to the wide receivers that are on the Raiders. I would pick him up if you desperately need a wide receiver. I'm definitely going to be, you know, keeping an eye on him to see how he fills that spot. Who's hot? Quarterback Russell Wilson. He has a decent schedule to finish off the season. He might be on waivers. Now, this is a hot one, so obviously it's usually who's definitely on waivers, but I know in my league, somebody dropped him. The funny thing was somebody dropped him a few weeks ago when he got injured or whatever. Last week, I picked him up, $0 bid. I felt so proud of myself. And then Aaron Rodgers got COVID, so I couldn't play Aaron Rodgers, and I obviously wasn't playing Russell Wilson because he was inactive. And you can't stash more than 2 QBs in our 1 QB league. So I ended up having to drop Wilson for Carson Wentz and ended up getting lucky on that front. Carson Wentz had 30 points, but I was kind of mad because Russell Wilson was my sneaky move, and I feel like a lot of people didn't see him on waivers, and that's why I did it. And then by me releasing back to the waivers, people saw him. So today I made a last-minute shiesty, risky move and dropped Khalil Herbert with the news that David Montgomery is coming back to the Bears to play tonight. And I dropped Khalil for Russell Wilson. Since Russell didn't play and Khalil hadn't played yet, I was able to do that before waivers cleared. Hopefully that was an okay move because I'd rather play Russell Wilson against Green Bay than Rodgers against Seattle this week.
Tight end Logan Thomas is set to come back, so he is ranked as a tight end 1.
Rest of season. So he's another one that might not be on waivers. Maybe someone stashed him, but I put money on the fact that he's probably on waivers because it's been a few weeks and he's a tight end. So most Logan Thomas owners would just drop him unless you have IRs. They could have put him on the IR. But if he's there, pick him up. I'd put down 20% at least to get him because he's a tight end you can have the rest of the season. From OBJ to DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones had a monster catch just to give a glimpse on how much he can be utilized without OBJ at Cleveland. They're taking up space. Assuming he'll resume his 5 to 6 target range where he averaged 15 points earlier this season, he could be a great pickup. I'd be going for him way ahead of Deshaun Jackson. That's why I'm putting him in the hot range here. If you need a wide receiver, I think you could put down 10 to 15%, and you'll have a solid floor of like maybe 7-8 points a week with him would be my guess.
Wide receiver Elijah Moore, he is catching pretty much everything thrown his way. And yes, Davis is coming back and will throw some shade, but he just scored 2 touchdowns and has been consistent with a decent QB throwing the ball.
Mike White, the new Jets quarterback. We were so pumped last episode. Well, I shouldn't say we. I was so pumped last episode hyping up Mike White. And then he play like 2 plays or something, then got injured. Yeah, it was bad. But he is supposed to play week 10. I mean, Zach Wilson's back to practice this week too. But I don't know. I think the smart move would just be to play Mike White going forward.
Maybe the Jets just do like, remember the Saints did with Breeze and Hill? They just like
rotate them. Yeah, that's true. Especially if they play Zach Wilson as they did with Taysom, like as a running back. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah. But just because we thought of that, they're not going to do that. Just so you know.
Okay.
All right, let's get into the Week 10 matchups.
For Week 10, we got Cincinnati and the New York Giants on bye. Just 2 teams.
It's not bad. It's not a bad bye week. And most likely, well, I mean, I don't have Jamar Chase. You won't have Joe Burrow, but other than that, it's not.
I think I'll survive.
Yeah. But the first game on the docket is Thursday Night Football, Baltimore Ravens at Miami Dolphins. The over-under is 47.5. We both went under. And the reason I went under, which I'm assuming you did too, is because it's a short week. I mean, Tua is not going to be the quarterback, I don't think. And I think the Ravens take this one. I think you could play both sides.
Yeah, and Miami's defense is decent, so.
Yeah, true. So it could be a competitive, keep the score low, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets with a 48.5 over/under, and I went under.
I'm going over.
You went over.
Yeah, I'm doing what you did last week. Okay. I'm just taking the high road. And by the way, last week you beat me 4-2 on over/under. So she's wearing the invisible crown this week. That's unfortunately.
Nice. It feels nice.
Yeah, I bet it does. So over. I'm going over because I think you're going to see Mike White in this whole game. I hope he's in this whole game. And the Jacksonville Jaguars just beat the Buffalo Bills, so why can't the Jets now beat the Bills?
I'm just a little nervous about the Bills' defense.
I know. Well, that's the thing is the Bills are definitely, like, it pains me to say this, but they're definitely a better team. I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point. But the Jets' defense, when they do show up, they're pretty competitive. It's a pretty good game. Like, their offense was there last week. They got 30 points against the Colts, but it's just their defense just didn't show up. I mean, the Colts were running all over them. So, yeah, I'm going to take the over on this one, and you got the under. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are at the Washington Football Team, 51.5 over/under, which I thought was pretty high. So we both went under on this one. And
it should be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'd play both sides in this one too. You know, just remember, if I don't say that, I mean that. Tampa Bay, you're obviously going to play everybody on that team, and Washington Football Team, just temper your expectations going against Tampa Bay's defense. But both of these defenses are pretty good besides the cornerbacks on Washington, I think.
The Atlanta Falcons at Dallas with a 53.5 over/under, and we both went over.
Yeah, this one's interesting because Atlanta did look good this past week. They do have like some great weapons like Cordero Patterson, Russell Gage, Kyle Pitts, and Dallas didn't look so great. So it's almost like maybe this could be a competitive, high-scoring matchup, and that's why I went over on it.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a little bit of a shootout.
I mean,
their defense, Cowboys' defense was pretty decent for a hot minute there. Something happened last week, but
yeah, Trayvon Diggs had a bunch getting thrown right in his vicinity, and he just didn't even go for him, the cornerback for the Cowboys. So hopefully he gets some this week, and hopefully that scores above, so we're right on that. New Orleans Saints are playing the Titans. The over-under is 44.5. I went under on this one just because both defenses seem to be pretty good, and I feel like they're going to keep the score low.
Yeah, I went over. I can definitely see it being under, but I took the over.
Which team do you think is going to be the winner?
I'm going to say the Titans.
Yeah,
Titans
I was thinking so too. Same thing. Yeah, they showed up against the Rams. I think they're going to do it again against the Saints.
The Jacksonville Jaguars, the Colts, with a 47.5 over and under, and we both went under.
Yeah, it doesn't sound fun. I mean, I think you said Jaguars.
The Jaguars.
I think the Jaguars they got lucky against the Bills. I just don't think it's going to happen against the Colts. I think the Colts are going to beat them, but I do think the score is going to be up there. I just don't think it's going to be at 47.5. If anything, I'm thinking low 40s.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Colts take that one.
Yeah, I'd say so. Detroit Lions playing the Steelers. That should be a fun one. 43.5 over under. And we both seen what the Steelers and the Lions can do, so we both went under.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be funny if this was the game the Lions finally win?
Oh my God. Seriously.
Cleveland Browns at New England with a 45.5 over and under, and we both went over.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think it's going to be back and forth. I think you can play both sides easily on this one, and both defenses show up. I think there's a good chance that this could be a trap game too, though, and it could be a low-scoring game because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do see what the Patriots have done these past few weeks, and the Browns what they did this past week without Beckham. It'll be fun to watch. I think that's going to be a high-score game. Minnesota Vikings are at the Los Angeles Chargers this week. 51.5 over under. We both went under on this. I just think that's a high score. I think they're great teams. I think they could put points on the board. I just don't see it being that high.
Carolina Panthers at the Arizona Cardinals with a 45.5 over under, and we both went under.
Yeah, another one. I think Cardinals are going to smoke the Panthers, but they're not going to run up the score that much, I don't think. Like, I could see them winning by like 2 touchdowns or something.
Yeah, the Panthers' defense is pretty good, so I don't think it'll reach that high.
Right. There was nothing better this past week than to see Stephon Gilmore picking off Mac Jones, though, as like a return game. That was kind of cool. Philadelphia Eagles at the Denver Broncos, 44.5 over under. I'm going under on this one just because I feel like it's another one of those trap games where you think it's going to be high because, Jalen Hurts moves the ball around. But I just don't see the Denver Broncos performing as well. I think the Eagles are even going to win this game.
Yeah, I took the over on this one. I just think that if they can continue what they just did at the Chiefs, then
it's possible. Yeah, no, it's totally possible. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see her pointing her finger up. Otherwise, that's not audible. But anyways, Seattle Seahawks at the Green Bay Packers, 49.5 over under. I'm going under on this one.
Yeah, I took the over, but it kind of depends on if Rodgers is playing or not.
Oh, 100%.
So
yeah, I mean, and that's another reason why I picked up Russell Wilson. I mean, Rodgers could get suspended through this whole COVID protocol thing, so that would be interesting, especially if Rodgers doesn't play. This is definitely going to be under 49.5, but I still think it's going to be, but I understand you going over. I mean, it makes total sense in this game.
Kansas City Chiefs at the Las Vegas Raiders with a 51.5 over and under, and I went over.
Yeah, it seems like that seems like a game where the score could run up, but I'm going to take the under on that just because of how the Chiefs have been playing. I can't put a lot of faith in them right now.
That Raiders defense can be pretty good, so I don't know.
That's another thing.
Mahomes might have a rough one if he can't get his shiitakes together.
That's what I mean. It's not going to be. I don't see the score going up high because of that. The Los Angeles Rams at San Francisco 49ers over under 49.5. We both went under on this. I think for obvious reasons. I think the Rams obviously are going to be angry this week and are going to want to take it out on the 49ers. So I think they're definitely going to take this one, but I just don't see the 49ers keeping up with them and keeping the score below 49.5.
And that was it?
That was it.
Wow.
Yeah, right? So that being said, those are the Week 10 matchups to look forward to. If we missed anything, let us know. Find us on Twitter and the socials at FanFootball411. Best of luck in Week 10. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Watch out who your other people are dropping.
Oh, yeah. Watch the drop. Yeah, good point. Yeah, watch who's getting dropped and pick them up if they're valuable. Like Khalil Herbert, who I just dropped.
See you Week 11.